Let's talk Tanya for the 6th of Kislev of a leap year. In the last few days, we've been talking about why mitzvahs are so indispensable to our connection to God. After all, we have a soul. Our soul is holy. Why can't we connect to God through our soul, through simply fostering some sort of spiritual connection of love, of respect, of reverence? And so far, we've had two answers. Number one is that through doing action mitzvahs, we bring light. We elevate the sparks and we bring light into the world of Atzilus, and ultimately that light filters down over here into our world. And after all, that is the purpose of everything. We were created in order to bring light here into this world, which we accomplish only through doing mitzvahs. That was one reason. Another reason, which we spoke over the last 2 days, is that when you're doing a mitzvah, you're actually holding godliness in your hand. In that physical object, there is godliness revealed. And today, the Alter Rebbe is going to give us another two reasons why mitzvahs are so important. The first one, the Alter Rebbe says, you want to create a connection with God. You want to have a relationship with God. Your soul is holy. That is true. At the same time, however, the physical object with which you are doing the mitzvah and which you are elevating when you are doing the mitzvah, actually, its source in godliness is higher than the source of your soul. In Kabbalistic language, it is sourced in the world of Tohu, which is higher than the source of your soul, which is in the world of Tikkun. And therefore, this is something which we've mentioned in the past. That's why, although it doesn't seem to be logical, we receive our energy from the animal kingdom and from the vegetables, from the things that grow, the things that live. And that is because even though we are holy, there's actually a greater amount of holiness within these objects, in the sparks within these objects. And therefore, when we do a mitzvah and elevate them, we're able to connect to God on that level, which is a higher level than what our soul possesses naturally. That's number one. Number two, the Alter Rebbe says something interesting. He says when there's what's called in Hebrew hashpah. Hashpah means giving of oneself to another. There are two types of hashpah. There is spiritual and there is physical. The example of spiritual is of a teacher and a student. The teacher is giving spiritually to the student, giving ideas, giving perspectives. And then there is a physical hashpah, and that the example that's brought for that is when in procreation there is the drop of sperm, which the man gives to the wife, and from that a child is born, and that is a physical drop. It is a physical hashpah, a physical giving of oneself. Now, you think that spiritual is always higher than physical, but here we find something interesting. When the teacher gives of himself to the student, so there we have again a hashpah ruchnis, a spiritual hashpah, a spiritual giving over of self, but the student only gets one aspect of the teacher. You wouldn't say that the teacher has given his very essence to the student. On the other hand, in that physical drop of seed, there we have the essence of the man, and therefore what's created over there from that is a child who carries the essence of the parent. And therefore all of the parent is in there, and therefore the child has hands and feet and a head and nose and all the spiritual qualities that the parent has also, because the very essence, for whatever reason, is able to be delivered by way of the physical more so than by the way of the spiritual. The same thing is also when God gives us a physical mitzvah, God's essence is in there in a much greater way than when God creates our souls, which is a spiritual transmission. Within the physical is where the essence of God is within the physical mitzvahs. So that's another two reasons why connecting to God, it's so important to do the mitzvahs. Again, number one, because the sparks in the physical object are higher than the sparks actually within your soul. And number two, because the essence of God is within the physical mitzvah more so than when God gives of himself spiritually. Tomorrow, we will explore and yet another reason why it is so important to connect to Hashem specifically through action mitzvahs.